This is a true crime story that happened in Nigeria on the 13th of January between a man named Timileyin and a young girl named Salome. Salome was a very beautiful woman in the town of Nasarawa State, Nigeria. She was loved by all, cherished by all, and she was the home cell leader for her church. Her family members loved her so much and they held her in high esteem. But that Saturday morning, Salome left home and bidded her sisters farewell, telling them that she is going to see her boyfriend, whose name is Maxwell. On her way to see Maxwell, Salome met with Timileyin. On her way to see Maxwell, Salome met with her long-time friend called Timileyin. She got into a conversation with Timileyin and Timileyin told her about how that he would love to give his life to Christ and in fact even follow her for home cell that evening. In the midst of the conversation, he told her that he wants to get something from the house and she should accompany him. Being a free-spirited lady and very nice, rather than turning Timileyin down, Salome saw it as an opportunity to lure him into her house fellowship, knowing that Timileyin claims not to serve God anymore. She followed him home and just for Timileyin to get what he forgot in the house, he invited her to enter into the room and take a cup of water. In order not to look like a rude person, Salome obliged and entered into the room, waiting for Timileyin to finish whatever it is that brought him home. Immediately they got into the house, Timileyin tried to be manipulative with Salome, and Salome became very angry. Trying to go out immediately, Timileyin smashed Salome's head on the door and she fell unconscious. In her state of unconsciousness, Timileyin injected her and she tried to stop him from doing it, but he punched her and beat her till she became unconscious again, and immediately he stabbed a knife through her, and that was the end of Salome. Timileyin is a young man who claimed to be a gospel minister because he released a gospel song some time back. But in the midst of it, Timileyin felt that this gospel ministry thing is not giving him the kind of money that he wants, the kind of money that he feels he deserves. So he needed a fast way to make wealth. He needed a fast way to gain eminence in society. And he heard somewhere that when you bring the head of a human being, you will become very rich. So he made it a quest to be a supplier of human head to people. But before these people agreed to have Timileyin on board as a supplier of human head to them, they made Timileyin take an oath that whenever he is being caught, he will not expose them. Being desperate for wealth, Timileyin took that oath, saying that he would never expose them whenever he's being caught. And if he dares to expose them, they can do whatever they want with his family members. He took that oath and left there with the aim of supplying these people with human heads. Within the space of 3 months, Timileyin has supplied over 6 different human heads to these people, and Timileyin became their best supplier. But unfortunately for him, Salome is going to be the last person that he will murder. Immediately Timileyin murdered Salome. He butchered her, cut her into pieces, and removed the bones from her body, put them into a bucket and washed them the way you wash a cow meat, and packaged her head into a leather. In the evening, the head he put inside a black leather, he carried it and called a nearby bikeman. When the motorcyclist came, he informed the man about where he wanted to go to and pleaded with the man to kindly follow back of the house and not follow the major road. Back of the house is a lonely road where people hardly pass, but it connects one town to the other. The bikeman obliged because Timileyin offered to give him quite a lot of money. Immediately he started driving Timileyin. He noticed drips of blood from the black leather. But being a wise man, the bikeman kept quiet, knowing that where they are right now, people are not there and it's a lonely path. If he tries to show Timileyin that he knows that something is wrong, Timileyin can immediately jump out of the bike and stop him, and he doesn't know what will happen. So the bikeman played smart, even when the smell and the stench from what Timileyin was carrying was disturbing the bikeman. The bikeman acted like he doesn't know what was happening and kept a straight face. But immediately the bikeman drove into the highway. He went straight into the company of other black men and spoke a native language to them in Hausa, saying, "Ban sani abin da wannan mutum ya doka a cikin wannan bakin leda ba, amma abin din na wari sosai, ku taimake ni ku tambaye shi." Meaning that I don't know what this man is carrying inside the black leather, but he's thinking so much. Help me to apprehend him. I think he has done something evil. Immediately the bikemen held the leather that Timileyin was carrying, and Timileyin was trying to act as though he was being harassed by these bikemen, but they insisted and pulled the leather out of his hand, only to see the head of a human that was about to be delivered. And immediately they started beating Timileyin. They beat him so much that it took the intervention of the Nigerian police. Why did the Nigerian police intervene? Because if those bikemen kill Timileyin, it will be difficult to get the truth. They will not know where the remaining body parts of Salome will be found. They would not know what led to her death and all. So that was why they had to intervene. Immediately they collected the head and took Timileyin to the police station and took him to the police station. They asked him to take them to his house, but he claimed not to know the location of his house. Then they asked the bikeman where he picked him from, and the bikeman told them exactly where he picked him from, Orozo. Immediately, the policemen all went to Orozo and they carried Timileyin along. They decided to play a role play and acted as though Timileyin had an accident, and they went about asking people if they knew where the house of this man is, that he just had an accident. "Hello, excuse me, please, this man just had an accident. Do you know his house?" A lot of people claimed not to know where Timileyin's house is, but they went to a compound and asked some little children they saw playing, "Do you know this uncle? Where is his house?" And immediately they pointed to Timileyin's house. When they went to the house, they asked Timileyin for his house key, but he said he doesn't know where the house key is. They asked him several times for his house key, but he claimed to be delusional about the house key. And immediately one of the policemen started to search him. In the process of searching Timileyin, he found the house key, and immediately they broke into Timileyin's house only to be met by a surprise none of them prepared for. Timileyin has cut the body of Salome into pieces and placed her flesh into 6 different black buckets, and he has washed off the blood from her body that he cut. Not just that, to show you that he is a professional, he has removed the bones from this lady's body. He removed the bones from the parts that he cut, and the table in his room had so many marks of butchering and cutting. It was a gruesome sight. But one thing that stood out in Timileyin's room was the bucket of tomatoes that they found. Why was there tomatoes in Timileyin's room? From research, it is being found that tomatoes help to reduce the smell of blood. Maybe that was why Timileyin bought a lot of tomatoes and filled them in his house. Immediately, they took Timileyin back to the police cell. They called the sisters of Salome because they found Salome's bag in Timileyin's house, along with her cell phone, her ID card, and other things. And from there, they were able to get the contact of Salome's family members. They called the sister immediately and also called the father's brother. Salome has just recently lost her dad. Immediately they went to the hospital thinking perhaps maybe their sister had an accident. They just want them to confirm that it's their sister, or maybe even if it's death, they would just confirm the sister's body and then carry her to the village for burial. But what they met was not what they expected. They met their sister packaged in buckets, polythene leather. It was a terrible sight. Immediately they confirmed that it was their sister from the head that was there. The policemen carried Timileyin into custody. This is a very painful story, and nobody deserves this type of death. Nobody deserves to be killed like this, and nobody deserves to be treated in this way and in this manner. There is so much evil upon the earth, and we must all be very careful and prayerful, because even in your most cautious state, evil can still come. That is why the Bible says what? Deliver us from all evil. We must pray and hold on to God always and be cautious. Don't follow people to their house. Do not allow yourself to be lured and all. Salome became a monument. She became a story with moral lessons for people to learn. Grandmothers started telling their children about Salome and Timileyin. Mothers started telling their children about Salome and Timileyin. And the story of Salome and Timileyin became a story with moral lessons for everyone. What did you learn from this story, and what do you think about this crime folktale? This story is a compilation of all the interview where Timileyin was asked questions, and also her family members were being interviewed also. It's a compilation of all the interview on this case.